Let's try that, okay?
All right. Now, most Jungian therapists know this. See, again, as a doctor, I started doing this work because of what Elisabeth told me. I had no, study of this subject. And I found things that were incredible, including anatomy, which you'll see in later slides. And so I wrote articles and sent them to medical journals, and it came back saying it's interesting, but it's not appropriate for our journal. I sent them to therapy journals, and they were sent back again saying it's interesting. I mean, it's appropriate, but it's not interesting. We know this. That blew my mind, again, that as doctors we're not taught this. Jungian therapists, psychotherapists, art therapists all knew this. And, but it confirmed for me that what I saw was true. And again, talking about mind-body, psychiatrist here in the United States, Carl Menninger, years ago at the Menninger Clinic, a psychiatric hospital, I sent him my first book, Love, Medicine, and Miracles, to look at. He said, Bernie, I was about to write a book called 10 Hopeless Cases. These are 10 people, all of whom are supposed to be dead, who are perfectly well today, but I'm not going to because you just wrote it. And that's what I began to realize, that the psychotherapists, psychologists, were familiar with my experience because they helped people to live, and then they didn't die. Now, night before surgery, I asked a woman to draw a picture of herself. I said, you added your child. She said, yeah, he's a part of me. Now, this is a white woman who's drawn herself in black. She's covering up her sexuality. Her feet are in opposite directions. She doesn't know which way to go. But what struck me was his arm goes out of the picture, and her right arm's longer than her left arm. So I mentioned, she said, yeah, we're reaching for my husband, but he's never there when you need him. But look at that grin. Say, how are you? Fine. Her eyes are empty. It's nice that she has a nose, and so does her son, because that's how God breathed life into Adam. So, and also hands. If people don't have hands, then how do you reach out? How do you get a grip? So if someone, while in high school or college, draws themselves without arms, they're more likely to have emotional troubles later in life. Next slide. Let's see. Now, draw a picture of yourself, and you get this folded page. Remember, everybody gets the same instructions and a full box of crayons. Why would you fold the page? Because, again, on the next inside, you see, is this headless, handless person. We'll get into the therapy aspect that's there, too. But she's afraid. She can't relate to people, can't reach out, can't take care of herself. The emotions. You're a professional, you develop a disease. Will the real me please stand up? The mommy, the professional. It's obvious the professional has a black purse, black shoe. Mommy is happier, colorful. Don't wait. As I said, let your heart make up your mind. Don't wait to have a life-threatening illness to say, I'm going to go home and be with the kids. Or if you like the job, fine, go to work. Self-esteem and self-worth. But remember, a full box of crayons is handed to this child. He said, Dr. Siegel, the kids are teasing me in gym in the locker room. Will you operate on me and fix my body? I said, draw a picture of yourself in the operating room. Out of a whole box of crayons, all he picks up is black and says, me. And then the little words are, the reason I drew this picture is because I'm tired. See, his intellect knows this is not good. I got to have an excuse. But I said to his parents, look at him. He's an insect on the operating table. He needs your love. He needs to feel self-worth. Or, he could have 10 plastic operations and still not feel worthy. And I may add, before I talk about this one, there was another child who drew a picture of himself and his legs were cut off at the bottom of the page. And I said, oh, are you having trouble? You're feeling stuck? He said, turn the page over. And he finished on the other side. So you can see a child with self-esteem uses 2 pages to finish himself, and this boy is a little speck. Now, who do you think would do this when you say, please draw a picture for me? Well, it's very obvious. A male engineer. When you ask him to draw a picture, he writes a full page of instructions on what you're supposed to draw if you follow the instructions. Again, this had a great impact on him. I met his son 20 years after his father drew this picture, and he said how much that picture changed the drawing that he did in words. He said the words, how much it changed his father. Well, let me quote. I always say being a lawyer is a serious illness, because a lawyer said this, much like this engineer. In the midst of a crisis, he said, I came to a conclusion that was eminently reasonable, totally logical, and completely wrong, because while learning to think, I almost forgot how to feel. So don't ever stop feeling. And this is drawn by the woman I told you about. When she came to the office and said, my disease is a failure. Look at how sharp and masculine this picture is. Because she said to me, I was hurt by my parents. I don't want to relate to people. I don't want to know people. I don't want to get hurt again. Now, what do I like about the picture? She's all the parts are there. Eyes, nose, mouth. Yeah, broad shoulders, hands, feet pointed straight ahead. Yeah, she looks very masculine. But the key was that she's all there, and the cancer did lead her on a new path in her life. And I used to find her at all my lectures, listening and working at changing. See, I call life a labor pain. And let me recite a couple of poems for you. 9 months seems like a long time. I watch my body change. Tired, I sit staring out at life. I live within my mind. Books and music transport me beyond my body. 9 months finally pass. I give birth to my child. All the discomfort and pain is now justified. 12 months. Chemotherapy and radiation. Seems like a long time. Same poem ends with, 12 months finally pass. I give birth to myself. All the discomfort and pain is now justified. Yes. And I also tell people to see themselves as a blank canvas, so that you're a work of art in progress and you don't criticize yourself. Seeing myself in the mirror, it's not as though I lost my breasts to surgery. They seem to have been erased or painted over as though the artist changed her mind. But there are other changes too. The head held higher, the brightness in the eyes, the air of expectancy, listening with keener ears, observing with greater insight. Do we perhaps shed things as we go through life that other features may be enhanced? The canvas is not finished. There is more color on the palette.
Okay, let's wait for 1 second so they can translate all that.
No, I sped up on the poem.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, maybe a little bit slower, so the translation can they can continue.
I will do that.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see. Oh, one other, and I'm not going to recite the poem, but he wrote...
Dr. Siegel, do you see, we just want to make sure we have the same picture. I think you see it inside your window.
Yeah, what I'm seeing is a man with like lines over him.
Yeah, so maybe just let's continue to the next one so we know which one you're talking about. It's the same one you...
I'm just telling some stories or poems.
Okay, good.
Because one last point before we talk about this next picture. In heaven, there are a lot of bitter people. And I asked them why they're bitter. And the man said, I ate vegetables for 20 years. I meditated 4 times a day. I exercised every morning, and I died anyway. So I always tell people, don't do things to not die. Do them to enhance the quality of your life. Now, this drawing is done by a man with colitis. I asked him to draw himself at work. And here you can see he looks like he's going to prison every day. And think about what that does to his colitis.
Can you just help us match which picture that is?
Right. Well, let me go back one. It's a man with glasses on walking towards the left.
Oh, it's this one? Oh,
it's the slide after the woman dressed in black.
Okay, black. Let's see black. I guess we missed a few. Here we go. We missed a few of the slides.
All right. What do you have up?
Can you see it on the top window right here? You should see it there.
Mine.
Is that the right
that's the one.
Okay,
this is it. All right?
Yep.
Okay. Let me go back to mine. Whoops. Yeah, anyway, this young man with colitis, it looks like he goes to prison every day. Okay? And now this, I mentioned to you that one person drew the picture and I said, you don't have legs. And he said, turn the page over. And he finished on the other side. So he's got support under his feet, that line. So he has self-worth and self-esteem because he fills the page. And then the guilt and blame. This is one where you see a little smiling figure at the top, and at the bottom it says, I had my son Bobby, 10 years old, draw this because I'm not good at drawing. That's what I had to learn, you see, that there are people who are afraid. They have no inspiration. They're afraid of doing things wrong, whether it's answering questions or drawing a picture. And even her son puts a smile on her face. I'm sure she's walking around, you know, denying her cancer and her needs. And what I look for are people, as crazy as this may sound, who say to me, oh, you're inspiring, you're this, you're that. I know the inspiration is in them. So I become their coach and we can achieve some wonderful things. But when people are into guilt, shame, and blame, it's hard to change them because they're afraid they'll do everything wrong. Right. Here's a woman in a box with lines all over the page that she drew. Why? It's like the woman who said my mother's words.